forward. Perfect. Where were we? Yesterday we finished connective tissue, right? Yeah, perfect. So just a quick revision. Again, connective tissue, we know of, they are made up of these three different things, that is intercellular matrix, cells and fibers. Intercellular matrix we know of made up of different compounds. One of the cementing like material, that was hyaluronic acid. Cells can be of different types like fibroblast, which are fiber like elongated cells, adipocytes or blood cells or mast cells, and so on. And the fibers itself like collagen fiber, elastic fiber and reticular fiber. Reticular fiber, these are nothing but the different type of collagen fiber. So collagen is in general a general name of the biomolecule, and when there are different subtypes of the collagen, the another subtype will make a reticular fiber. So it's that way. Yesterday I could not remember what reticular fibers are, but now I'm telling it to you. So that is the reticular fiber, collagen fiber and elastic fiber. And the various examples that we had looked at was plasma, then bones, ligaments, tendons and cartilage. And I hope the difference between all these structures is very very clear. And then these two types we had looked at, that is areolar tissue, adipose tissue. I will also give you the classification which is mentioned in the books, uh, but I will just add one slide to it so that you know that classification as well. We have gone through all that, so I need not mention it specifically. One thing I wanted to show you was this. Yes. So like yesterday I was mentioning about the tendon part. So this particular white part that you see here now, that is nothing but a tendon. And then you have muscles, then you have bones, and this is again a tendon part. And ligament is usually from, let's say, this bone, which will cross over to the joint and will join to this humerus bone, right? This is upper arm, so it will cross over like this and it will add, so that will be ligament. This is tendon. And then one more, and the cartilage that we know is present around this. See, you can also see this white part here around the bone, right? Even if whenever this is the bone, that's this small c-shaped lining or whitish over the bone, that is nothing but a cartilage. Here it is very clearly visible, which is whitish, and this white part, which is a fiber like material, that is a tendon. Okay, so that is the brief overview of the connective tissue. Now coming over to one of the interesting part or the type of the animal tissue, that is muscular tissue. Again, basics, you know, miss, I don't know how many of you like to flex your muscles, but that is the very common trend these days. So like obviously you would know a bit about it for sure. So this muscular tissue, they consist of elongated cells and they are called as muscle fibers. This tissue is actually responsible for movement of body. That fact you already know. I will also show you the composition of the muscle in the same diagram, so you will understand what is muscle fiber, what is muscle cell and so on. Main function, movement of the body. Muscle cell or muscles in general, they contain special proteins which are called as contractile protein. Now, let me come to the diagram because it will be easier to understand everything. So this is one whole bicep muscle, right? And then you have tricep muscle also. So this is the like upper arm muscle. And if you look at this section, which is boxed here, and you check, now these are individual muscle bundle. So this round part is one muscle bundle, this one part is one muscle bundle, and so on. So muscles in general, they are made up of different muscle bundles. Within muscle bundle, if you look at one of the small bundle, you have which is called as fascicle. Now again, you need not remember this fascicle and so on. What you should remember is muscle made up of bundle, and then which is in turn made up of the muscle fibers, which is nothing but the muscle cell. And this is like again same analogy that you have so many cotton fibers. Cotton fibers are like your actin myosin proteins. When you put them fiber together, those fiber will make a myofibril or muscle fiber, right? And that particular myofibril or muscle fiber is nothing but a string or a thread. And when you make that thread into another weaving or twisting arrangement, that is nothing but your muscle as such. So that way, the arrangement or the sequence in analogy goes. So muscle is a collection of the muscle bundles, which is ultimately a collection of muscle fibers. And muscle fibers, they are made up of different protein structures like actin and myosin. These are written here. You can see the actin is arranged in this manner and the myosin is arranged in this manner in between. And these are called as contractile proteins, right? Why contractile proteins? Because they are the ones which are allowing the muscles to contract and relax, right? In simplest analogy, if I can give you, let's say we have uh, like a rectangular box or a rectangular cloth or rectangular whatever, right? Or any shape for that matter. It doesn't need to be rectangular. Let's say we have a rectangular cloth and we fold it. That is something like a contraction because all the parts of this rectangle, they are coming closer. Now in proteins also something similar happen. Proteins, they have their own shapes, right? Can be spherical, can be oval, can be triangular, can be rectangular or polygonal, any of those shapes, or can be a random shape which is close to sphere. So when they have this structure, they have certain bonds attached between each other, right? Amino acids, which are smallest unit of protein, they are forming bonds, and that way they give shape to the protein. And when these proteins, they are connected with these bonds, they are little contracted. When they release the bond, so that means the structure becomes little loose, that becomes like a relaxed protein. So that way, these contractile proteins function in order to contract the muscle uh, or relax the muscle, either ways depending on what is happening. That is usually the contraction and relaxation. So in general, if we have to say, the muscle contraction is ultimately dependent on the or muscle contraction or relaxation is dependent on the contraction or relaxation of the proteins which are present in the muscle, which are nothing but the contractile proteins. And their names are actin and myosin. Now, I'm sure you had studied in the cell, and the cell also has a cytoskeleton, right? Cytoskeleton means I'm not talking about the cytoplasm, but I'm talking about cytoskeleton. Like we know in human body, we have a skeleton. Similarly, a cell also has a type of skeleton, which is made up of these proteins, actin and myosin and so on, and tubulin to some extent. That is forming a skeleton of this cell, which are like protein network. And that way the cell gets its own shape. And let's say it is a macrophage cell. Now this is the additional information. Let's say if it is a macrophage cell, or you can simply call it like a immune cell, and the bacteria is there somewhere in the blood. So the immune cell gets a signal and immune cell moves. Now how does it move? How does it know that the bacteria is there? So these proteins will help the movement of the cell from one place to the other, and that way it will engulf or eat the bacteria. So that is again another example of the cytoskeleton or proteins being present in the cell, which is similar to the function of the muscle. It's just the contraction and relaxation of the proteins which allow the movement of either it is a cell or it is a muscle or whole body movement as such. So, okay, so that is the cytoplasm. No, not this one. Sorry, the muscle cell. They are made up of the special proteins, contractile proteins, which is nothing but the actin and myosin, and which will contract and relax to cause the movement. Now, another important fact with muscular tissue is that they develop from the mesoderm of the embryo. Now, you would wonder what this mesoderm is. So, let me give you that brief. So, when the sperm and ova fuse together, they form a zygote. Zygote will differentiate or divide mitotically. It will form from the zygote cell, it will make 2 cells, then 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and so on. So at somewhere around 64 cell stage, the zygote will arrange, the cells will arrange themselves in 3 different layers, right? There will be upper layer, middle layer, and the lower layer. So all these 64 cells, they are arranging into a specific manner. That is what the outermost layer is called as ectoderm, middle layer is called as mesoderm, and the inner layer is called as endoderm. So these are the 3 germ layers in our body. So germ layers, that means they give rise to whole body tissues. Like during the embryonic stage, it is ectoderm which will give rise to the skin and the hair and nail-like portion. Mesoderm will form your muscle and like blood vessel type of structure, and the endoderm, that is the innermost layer. Endo refers to inside, so the innermost layer will form your internal organs like liver, heart, and so on. Yeah, so that way these layers are arranged, and when the fetus or the embryo grows inside mother's uterus, it develops into a complete baby. So mesoderm is responsible for formation of the muscular tissue, that is the middle layer of the germ layer. I hope this part is clear. If anyone has any doubt, please feel free to stop and ask me questions. And now, like just briefly looking at these 3 different types of the tissue, of the muscular tissue, that is cardiac muscles, smooth muscles, and the skeletal muscles. So these are the 3 main type of the muscular tissue. Overall function of muscles, you know it very well, that is movement and locomotion, supporting the bone and other structure. I hope you can like understand this statement. If you want me to explain, you will let me know. But it supports the bone and the other structure, and it is also responsible for peristalsis and parturition. Peristalsis, can anyone say what is peristalsis?
Sir, the esophagus pushes the food down by contracting its muscles.
But does it only happen in esophagus?
I don't know, maybe it happens in the small intestine and large intestine also.
Maybe it happens in the blood vessels as well.
Blood vessels, no, because that's not peristalsis, that's just simple contraction and relaxation.
So in the food pipe?
Yeah, so all over the GI tract, like your gastrointestinal tract, peristalsis happens. Also, in case of female reproductive structures like vagina, cervix, there, and even sometimes in the fallopian tube, when the ova has to be passed down from ovaries to uterus, or when the sperm has to move inside through the reproductive tract upward towards the uterus so that it can go and fuse with the ova, there also peristalsis happen. Function, like the function wise they are same. What they do at the end of peristalsis is different. Like in GI tract, it will push the food down the tract. In reproductive tract of a female, it will push the sperm upward and it will move the ova forward. So that way depend on what that function is, but otherwise peristalsis simply remains like a movement of something within the tube-like structures. So that is peristalsis. What about the second term, parturition?
So, but in peristalsis, then it is moving something in a tube-like structure. But then, how is the blood vessel different from that?
Blood vessel doesn't push anything. Blood vessel, these are just simple tubular structure. Whatever pushing is happening because of the heart and because of the difference in the diameter of the blood vessels. Like let's say heart is there, then the artery is there, and then the capillaries are there. Of course, there are different structures in between, but like for simplicity, let's say heart, arteries, and capillaries are there. Now, the moment blood pushes the, so not the blood, heart push the blood into the arteries, it will go forward, arteries, then it will enter into the capillaries which are narrow diameter, right? Narrow as in very thin in terms of diameter. So the pressure is built again, and then from there it will be carried forward. And because there are walls or what we call gates at the heart, so this otherwise capillary building a lot of pressure, it would have pushed the blood back. But that doesn't happen because the heart has different walls or what we call gate channels. That way the blood will be pushed even further. So that way the blood pressure is maintained throughout the body. So it is not the, there does happen the contraction and relaxation of blood vessel, but that is not equivalent to peristalsis. Yeah.
Okay.
Major blood movement happens because of the diameter difference in the different blood vessels and the pumping action of the heart. Okay, and what is the second term, parturition? Can anyone say that? If anyone knows?
I think it's to give birth, right?
Right, correct. So it is the childbirth. Now, how muscular tissue are responsible for childbirth then?
So like the baby needs to be pushed out, right? With the contraction and that.
Correct. And there is a very biological terminology for that. What is it? Associated with pain. Labor pain, have you heard of it?
Yeah.
So parturition is nothing but the childbirth. That is because of the uterine contractions. Uterine means uterus will contract because the baby has grown up to 9 months. Now the uterus knows that okay, it's baby's time to go out of the body. So uterus will start contracting and it will push the baby out through the vagina. Right? So in that case, that contraction is very, very important because if that is not strong enough, that pushing of the uterus or pushing of the baby through the uterus outside the body, then what we have to do is the cesarean section, right? If the muscles of the uterus or muscles of the pelvic pelvic area, if they are not strong enough, then the cesarean section has to be done because then there is a chance that baby may not survive longer within the uterus because it has to go out quickly, and that is when like most of those complications they also arise. So people they have to figure out these childbirth processes really quick. So that is one of the important function of the muscle tissue during the parturition or childbirth process. Okay.
Parturition is uterine contraction.
No,
Because
parturition is childbirth. Childbirth happens or parturition happens because of the uterine contraction. You got it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question, anyone on like any of the parts from this slide?
what is the difference between movement and locomotion?
Locomotion is literally a displacement of the individual being, and movement is like you are picking up something or you are pushing something. That is a movement. Otherwise, movement is like even locomotion is also a movement, but locomotion we specifically use from like if you are traveling by walk to some other place. That way, that is the locomotion. Like animals, they can perform locomotion. Plants cannot perform locomotion. That way. Okay, so then I will move forward to the second part of this muscular tissue. Now we know the basics of the muscular tissue. So the cytoplasm in the muscle fiber, the cytoplasm as in like we have a normal cell and a regular cell or regular body cell, what we call as somatic cell. They have cytoplasm, but the cytoplasm inside the muscle cell or muscle fiber, it is specifically called as sarcoplasm. I again forgot the meaning of sarco. but it is related to muscle something. And for all the terminologies, we with respect to muscles, we either use this sarco or we use myo, myo. So in this diagram you can see we have this myofibril, so that is
Sir,
related to muscle. Yes,
sarco means flesh, right? I guess.
I'm not sure. I don't remember. But yeah, if you can Google and tell it to everyone, it will be nice quickly. So this sarco means something related to muscles, that's for sure. So the cytoplasm in muscle fiber is specifically called as sarcoplasm. Otherwise, we normally call it cytoplasm for all the other cells. Similarly, there is a network of membrane like which is called as sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now you can imagine what would this be similar to in normal cells? What is it? You can
Endoplasmic
Yeah.
reticulum.
exactly. It's endoplasmic reticulum. Just because it is present in muscle fiber, we call it sarcoplasmic reticulum. And
Does it differ in function, like in any way?
yeah, it differs a bit because normal endoplasmic reticulum is not like actually a network-like structure within the regular somatic cell. But while in case of muscle fiber, I don't think it is mentioned here anywhere. Yeah, otherwise there was one diagram which actually mentioned the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So actually what happens is around these muscle fibers, not muscle fiber, around these myofibrils, which are present inside the muscle fibers, this sarcoplasmic reticulum will form a network over it, right? Network in the sense, a mesh, like if you cover this myofibril with a mesh, that is how exactly the sarcoplasmic reticulum will look like. And that is the difference in terms of structure. Also, imagine what is the function of endoplasmic reticulum? Anyone?
It reduces the ribosome.
Sorry, makes what?
Ribosome.
Okay. What else?
And other enzymes and sends them to places.
Right.
If they need further processing, it sends them to Golgi body.
Right. Major function is to synthesize uh, proteins through ribosomes synthesis, right? So now you imagine where are the proteins in the muscle? That is this actin and myosin. So where ribosome has to be, it has to be around this, and where the endoplasmic reticulum has to be around this. So that is why the sarcoplasmic reticulum or endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell will be around this muscle fiber which is within the muscle cell. Yeah, so that is where the that is how the difference is in terms of sarcoplasmic reticulum and the regular endoplasmic reticulum. And the membrane which is surrounding the muscle fiber, that is called as sarcolemma. Now what is this? Like we have plasma membrane in regular cell. In case of muscle cell, we specifically call it sarcolemma. Again, sarco, I don't know what it is, but lemma refers to the layer or membrane, right? So we have different, even in case of neuron, we have neurolemma. That means a layer around the neuron cell, right? So anywhere we see this LEMMA terminology attached to someone, it means a layer of that particular structure. So in this case, it is the plasma membrane of the muscle cell, and that is what is specifically called as sarcolemma. So sarcoplasm, which is the cytoplasm of muscle cell, sarcoplasmic reticulum, which is nothing but the endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell, and sarcolemma is the plasma membrane of the muscle cell. So these are the three specific terminology that we use in muscular tissue. And again, the properties of the muscular tissue, we already know this: contractibility, that they are able to contract the muscle; then extensibility, they are able to stretch or relax the muscle; elasticity, that means they relax and they can come back to their own position. That is, you know what elastic is. So that way, muscles are also elastic. And excitability, they can respond to the stimulus which is derived from the either a motor neuron, which is nothing but a movement related neuron and hormone. Now again, can anyone give an example of excitability with respect to the motor neuron? Like you are moving the muscle based on the signal from a nerve. Yes, Ishan.
Like you touch something hot, then you immediately move, take away your hand from the hot,
Right. What is that specifically called as?
like pain reflex.
Yeah, it's reflex. Right. And someone else also has raised hand. Who is it? Can't-
Yeah, sir, it's me and knee-jerk reflex.
Yeah, a knee jerk. Can you explain that quickly?
Yeah, so when there's this small hammer kind of thing, and when it's hit on the knee, your leg goes up.
Right. So that is like you are kind of giving a sensation to the nerve. So it will send the signal to the muscle, and that way your knee just comes up. So that is the knee jerk reflex. And anyone again can give an example of muscle movement related to hormonal action. Anyone? Mr. Vashisht, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Thank you.
Do you know any example of hormonal action on muscle tissue?
No, thank you. I don't know actually.
Anvesha,
Yeah, sir.
example, would you know?
So I cannot think of any right now.
Okay. Riyansh,
Oh, sir, I got disconnected, sir. What are you talking?
okay, fine. So we are talking about if you know of any example where muscle movement happened due to the hormonal action. We have just seen that example.
Okay, sir.
So if anyone, if no one can say it, let me say. So we have just, yeah,
So like in childbirth, maybe.
perfectly. That's what I was just going to say as well. So would you like to say more of it? Which is the hormone, if you know of?
So it must be estrogen, I think.
No, estrogen is not responsible for that actually. It's called oxytocin. So like when the 9-month gestation period or the pregnancy period is over, then the signal from the endometrium, which is the uterus wall from inside, that will send a signal to the brain, which is nothing but the hypothalamus, and then hypothalamus will send a signal to a gland, which is pituitary gland, and that pituitary gland will secrete a hormone called as oxytocin, right, which is also responsible for milk secretion during the pregnancy period or after the pregnancy period, and also responsible for increase in the size of the breast, so that the mammary glands, they are more proliferated after the birth, that is after the childbirth, and that is one of the action. And second action of the oxytocin is to go and signal the uterine muscles so that they can contract and push the baby out. So once this 9-month is over, the endometrium will send a signal to brain will send a signal to pituitary gland will secrete oxytocin, and oxytocin will go and act on the uterus again, and that way it will cause the contraction of the uterus so that the baby is pushed out. So that is one of the action of the hormone on the muscles. Again, one of the other action, like everyone knows of adrenaline, right? You casually say, oh, today I feel like I have adrenaline rush in my body, and then you run faster or you do something crazy, right? That is nothing but when you have adrenaline, your muscles, they are more active. So that way also, adrenaline is also a kind of chemical which goes and act onto the muscles. So these are the 4 properties of the muscular tissue: contractibility, extensibility, that means contraction and relaxation; elasticity, that means after stretching it can come back to its own position; and excitability, that is doing certain function based on a motor neuron signal or the hormonal signal. Again, any question here? Anyone?
Yeah. So, what about the signal which comes from the neurons? Like I tell my hand to move. Is that part of the stimulus?
Yeah, it is. It is. So
But
yeah, say it. Say it.
okay, it doesn't seem like a stimulus because
So
um
you ultimately think of something like, let's say for example, I want to lift my mobile phone, right? That is still a signal. My brain will process that a signal. It will send a signal to hand, and then it will take like lift the mobile phone, right? So that way.
But you don't really
oh,
think of it, no? Like,
Correct.
you don't say, ki, okay, hand, move and get the glass.
So that is when we say there are 2 types of actions. One is voluntary, the one which we do voluntary, that is just lifting the muscle. There you need not think about it. Reflex is something that is when you nerve signals come into picture. So in voluntary actions, you may or may not have any neuronal signal. That is right, right? Like you said, we need not think about lifting something or doing something, like when it is a like voluntary muscle movement. But in case of reflexes, we always have a neuronal signal. So that way they are differentiated. Again, someone has raised hand. One is Pratham.
Yeah, sir. So skeletal muscle cells are voluntary and smooth and cardiac are involuntary, right?
Correct. That we will see immediately after this. Ishan, you also have a question, or
no, that was before.
okay? So so that part is clear, right, everyone? If there are any doubts, please do clarify. Okay, so again, we have looked at the structure, so I will not go back to this slide. I hope arrangement wise it is clear to you how these muscles, they are arranged in a particular manner. Okay.
So one question from the diagram.
Yeah.
Sir, in the second box, like right after the muscle, yeah, that box. What is the blue stuff in the middle? Blue
So
and red stuff.
I'm not too sure of this, what they mean by this blue stuff. Not really,
Okay.
no clue actually.
And also, so there's no I either they just not didn't include it in the diagram, but there's no like neurons or anything that are coming.
Yeah, because they only want to show a muscle structure.
Okay, but then
There
neurons are
aren't
there.
no-
Neurons are there, but they are not wrapped within the what you say muscles. They are around the muscles.
Ah,
Sir, aren't the blue things arteries and veins?
Like I said, I'm not sure of what they mean by showing those structure. It could be just simple, like what we call muscle proteins, which are present around this muscle bundle. So could be arteries and veins, or could be anything else as well. Yeah, it's just the representation, right? And also, like we should always question this diagram, because what you see in the diagrams, they are not how exactly it looks like in the body. So let's say, for example, I take out my bicep and tricep muscle and put it next to this diagram, and then you will see, oh, there is so much of difference.
this is a simplification, no?
Yeah,
So
this
we
is
understand.
simplified versions of how they would be otherwise. Like Yes,
Are there any microscopic pictures?
sorry.
Are there any microscopic pictures for these muscles,
Yeah, there should be. There should be. Let me just quickly.
like cells or tissues of these muscles?
Okay. Why is this not shifting my tab up to Shaisi? That is because of this. 1 minute, people.
Sir, it's like I googled it and it looks like this.
Real images. Human muscles, let me type. Otherwise, it will bring me any other muscles. So, no, these are not the real images. This is showing something.
Sir, you can search
Sir,
under
you can
microscope.
type muscle tissues of muscle
Electron
microscopic
microscope.
pictures of
Sir,
muscle tissues.
I searched microscope like.
No, microscope will give you completely different picture actually. No,
Oh, it was showing some sort of.
Sir, yes,
Oh,
it
what is
was
that?
the picture above it was showing like that.
this one.
Yes, sir.
No, but I don't think so. This is still looks like a very artificial picture. In reality, it is completely different.
So, like when you go to medical school and all, they make you
Yeah,
show you this. No?
I can't see anywhere here. Is this? No. No. Okay, maybe let me check it later and I will post a picture in the Google Classroom. But I don't see here.
We can just search chicken and it will come.
Yeah, that or anyone can share it that way.
Yeah.
Fine. Let me not take more time.
Sir,
Yes.
I searched muscles electron microscope and there are some black and white photos.
Oh, but then that would be, like very detailed structures.
Yeah, it was just like some fibers I could see and all that. Nothing very.
These ones you would see, right?
Yeah.
So, like
Yeah.
exactly, actually, this picture is what you see in this diagram, right? You can see this actin myosin protein arrangement, and like we'll see what these striations or these bands mean in the next part. So that is the like a very detailed microscopic structure. So usually these structures they don't give much of the details. Yeah, this is one which is scanning electron microscope. That is again SEM, and that is the image. But then I guess they are showing again at very high resolution. That is not what we want to look at. Again, here is something similar. I don't know what is this they are showing.
So this looks
This
animated.
one Pinterest,
Yeah.
literally fake.
Sir, I got a picture for you on muscle. It looks real. I will put it as a profile.
Okay. Yes, please. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue with. Yeah, we have time. Five minutes. Yeah, we can just finish this part and then we can stop later. So just to brief you, we are going to look at individually all these types in detail. What is skeletal muscle? What are different properties and so on. But looking at these three main types. So first type is skeletal muscles. They are also called as striated muscles or they are also called as voluntary muscles. Why striated? Because if you look at these diagrams, they create a pattern that this is the dark band and then this is the light band, then again this is the dark band and again this is the light band. So it is because of the presence of actin and myosin proteins which are being present here in this area. So you can see actin is labeled here. So this is
Sir,
all.
I put the profile picture. Then you just see it for the second.
Okay, I may not be able to see. Maybe at the end of the lecture we can have a look at that.
Okay,
I will
sure.
ask you to share this clip. Okay, so if you can see in this diagram, the actin is located here, like kind of half hexagon or this 3 or 4 sided structure. So that is actin, and then in the middle you have myosin. So myosin will create this light band, and actin will create this dark band. So that is what you see here, light dark band and then light band, then dark band and light band. So it is creating a pattern of lines, and that is what means by the striations. And that is why these skeletal muscles or these voluntary muscles, they are also called as striated muscles, because they create lines or patterns of these lines because of the presence of different proteins. And that is why they are striated muscles. And they are mostly attached to the bones and help in the body movement. So that is what is skeletal muscles, because they are attached to the skeleton. That is why they are skeletal muscles. Shape and everything we'll see later. Smooth muscles, these are involuntary muscles, right? For example, skeletal muscle, if you want to move your hand, you can do it voluntarily. But if you want to, let's say, move your heart or ask the heart to pump faster blood, you cannot do it, right? Like it is not voluntary, it is completely involuntary process. And that is where the smooth muscles, they come into picture, or they are also called as involuntary muscles. They are found in different places like iris of the eye, the ureters, that is in the urinary bladder, the tube which connects the kidney to the urinary bladder, they are ureters. The bronchi of the lungs, that is the windpipe and sub branches of it. So all these structures, they are made up of smooth muscles, right? Even the intestine is a smooth muscle. Blood vessels, they are smooth muscles. Most of the internal organs, they are made up of smooth muscles, and so on. So that way, all these muscles which are functioning involuntarily, they are smooth muscle. But there is a special type, which is a third type of the muscular tissue, that is cardiac muscle. They are also involuntary, but their structural arrangement is drastically different than the smooth muscles. In general, we know that there are three layers of the heart, that is pericardium, outermost, mesocardium, that is middle, and the endocardium, that is the innermost towards the heart. So this mesocardium, which is the middle layer of the heart, is forming cardiomyocytes. Again, myo related to muscle, cytes means cells. So myocytes are muscle cells, and cardio refers to heart muscle cell. So that way they are named, and these are the cardiac muscles of the heart, and they are specifically responsible for rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart, so that the blood will be pumped by the heart throughout the body. So these are the three main types. In the next class, we will see much in detail of individual types and so on. As of now, we stop here and then we take any questions, if at all.